examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Clark, for the break, I asked you to look at Defendant's Exhibit D in that book. It's a letter written to you by Mr. Chad Rosswarn.
Yes.
All right, and it says that upon inspection of the roof, there seems to be some aesthetic problems with the ridge cap, and 2 to 3 shingles need to be replaced.
Yes, what it says here.
All right, do you agree with that statement?
No.
All right, when he came out to your home, did he tell you that those were the problems and no problem, I'll fix them right away? Did you guys ever have that kind of a conversation?
The one that did most of the talking was his assistant. He told me that the job was good.
All right, did they tell you there was a problem with the ridge cap and 2 to 3 shingles?
Yeah,
needed to be
he mentioned a
replaced?
little bit something about it. He was going to change some of it or move it. About it.
All right, and what was your response?
I told him that really wasn't the problem. I said the shingles were running different. I said there's, they call it the gutter's not on the right. Try to explain all the problems that there was, and he just said that this is what he was going to do. Fix the 2 or 3 shingles and that ridge cap.
All right, and then the argument got kind of confrontational. Would that be a good way to put it up?
Yeah.
Describe it?
Yeah.
All right, have you had any contact with him thereafter?
So I got another letter, I think, after this one.
Okay, and after that, anything else?
No.
All right, did you then go get an estimate from Century Roofing?
Yes.
All right, and they gave you an estimate back in October, correct?
Yes.
Can you flip to Exhibit F? Is that the estimate you received from Century Roofing in July of 2008?
Yes.
All right, and the estimate was for $9,609?
Yes.
And flip to the last one, Exhibit G. That's an estimate from March of 2009?
Yes.
All right, why did you get another estimate in March of 2009?
Well, it's been a lapse of time. I forgot about when I got that other one. So I called him back out to give me the estimate.
All right, and the estimate's more, right? It's $10,570?
Yes.
All right. Were you noticing any other problems with the home from June of 2008 until March of 2009?
What is it? Was when we replaced some of the decking, replaced it with the wrong side. And you can see where the shingles go up over the decking. And the roof, shingles, exposed now.
Let me stop you. All right. Does your home leak?
Yes.
All right, and when did you notice the leaking start?
It was after around, when did it come up? I'm not sure on the exact date, but it was in sometime in 08.
Before or after Rossi Construction came?
It was after the job.
It was what?
After the roofing was done.
I understand. After the roofing job, before or after they came out to fix the problems you said were going on with the roof?
After that.
Sometime after June of 2008, your home began to start leaking?
Yes.
And where would it leak?
Right about the front door where the light hang is in the ceiling.
And when would it leak?
when it rains.
And did you ever have problems with leakages before?
No, not there, no. Nowhere.
All right. And did you have problems with leaking before Rossi Construction changed the roof?
No.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Clark.
Good afternoon.
In the defendant's exhibit book in front of you, I want you to turn to Exhibit A. And would you say that's a true and accurate representation of the way your house and garage looked prior to the roofing job?
Yes.
And it looks to me like your shingles were gray prior to the roofing job. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it looks like it, yeah. Right.
'Well, you lived there. They were
Yes.
gray, weren't they?
I'm a little colorblind, but they were a different color than the new ones.
Well, so you can't tell gray from any other color?
More to tell this brown, green, blue, tan, just that.
Now,
You can tell the difference between the new roof and the old one. But,
Well, taking a look at Exhibit C1, you can tell that the shingles are brown after the roofing job, correct? As opposed to gray prior to the roofing job, correct?
yes.
Now, counsel shows you 4 photographs at first, which are Exhibits 1N, 1L, 1B, and 1M. May I publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
We don't have copies of those, so I will give you my copies so that you can follow along. And my question to you, sir, isn't it true that photographs 1B, 1M, 1L, and 1N that counsel showed you are all pictures or photographs of shingles that are gray rather than brown?
No, I'll tell you what, it could be the picture. I never took no pictures of the roof prior to after the job.
That's not it. Okay. Could I have the witness's response read back, please?
To the question,
Yes. Or should I just repeat the question?
please repeat the question.
Absolutely. Mr. Clark, isn't it a fact that the photographs your counsel showed you being exhibits 1B, 1L, 1M, and 1N all show gray rather than brown or tan shingles?
1N, 1B.
Do you understand my question, sir?
Now, give me the numbers again. 1L, 1N?
1B, 1L, 1M, and 1N that the jury is now looking at all show gray rather than brown or tan shingles. Isn't that a fact?
I guess.
Okay. So
Not sure.
isn't it true that if those are photographs of gray shingles, that would have been photographs taken before Rossi Construction, my
No.
client, did its job.
No, it isn't. These are all after the job.
Even
Could be
though those shingles are gray, is that right?
Could be the pictures. I never took pictures prior to the job. Those are all my pictures. I took no pictures of prior to the job.
Well, who took the picture of your roof and garage before the work was done, which is shown as Defendant's Exhibit A for identification? Which is right in front of you.
Maybe they did.
You never took it.
No, I don't think so.
Why would Rossi take a picture of it?
They want to do a before and after picture.
Do you know who took the picture before?
I don't remember taking these. I never taken these.
Whoever took a picture of your garage and roof prior to Rossi's job, depicted as Defendant's Exhibit A, probably took the other photographs that were shown to you, which are Plaintiff's Exhibits 1B, 1L, 1M, and 1N. Isn't that true?
Well, I didn't take those pictures. I don't remember taking those pictures.
So you don't know who took all those pictures of your house and garage?
No, you're saying these two.
You don't know who took all those pictures of your house and garage prior to Rossi's construction, do
These are the
you?
ones I took.
I'm going to object. That's not what he's saying at all. He's saying he took all those
Well,
pictures.
I think
He didn't take
whatever
those
he's
two.
saying,
I didn't take those.
You're badgering
he's not
him.
the witness.
He says he didn't take those
not
two
letting me
pictures
finish
that
my
are in the
question.
exhibit
He
book.
testified that he didn't take these two pictures.
And he took the rest, and he's just yelling at him and badgering him. I'm going to object.
All right.
The entire line of question.
All of the photographs of your house and garage before Rossi's work was not done by you, but by someone else. Is that what you're
It
saying?
must be.
Okay, did Century take those photographs?
I didn't take these two photographs.
I understand that, but did whoever took those photographs take the rest of the photographs I just showed you, 1B, 1L, 1M, and 1N?
These look like I took them.
Okay, and they show gray shingles, correct?
No, I can't tell because of the photographs are. Because you look at these over here,
Are those
That's right.
color photographs?
yeah, but they look like they came out too good.
Oh, so they're just poor photographs.
Right.
Is that it?
That's so.
Now, taking a look at Exhibit 2 for identification. Do you have Exhibit 2 in front of you?
I don't think he does.
Well, we only have one copy, Judge.
Okay.
I don't know what to do.
All I see is 111. You say number 2?
Should be in that file.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the ones in my hand. Okay.
Now, looking at number 2, we now see a brown shingle. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a new roof.
And it looks like the gutter is completely clean, isn't that right?
Yes?
So somebody cleaned out the gutter prior to this photograph being taken, isn't that right?
Looks like it.
And your problem
Well, it might
with...
have been a new gutter. That's a new gutter.
Okay, that's a new gutter. I understand that. And it shows not only the gutter, but also the gutter apron on, that's under the shingle, isn't that right?
Yes.
So your problem with the work, as so far as this photograph is concerned, is that the gutter apron doesn't extend far enough? Is that the problem?
No, it was installed wrong.
Well, taking a look at Exhibit B, which is the contract between you and Rossi Construction, isn't it a fact that Rossi Construction did not contract to alter or replace the gutter apron?
You know what? I didn't know what an apron was. But the reason why the price was changed because of the gutters and everything.
All right, taking a look at Exhibit B, under the scope of work, show me where Rossi Construction contracted to change, alter, or reinstall your gutter aprons.
A lot of stuff on here that he wrote on here, a lot of stuff that he, what do you call it, did is not on here too.
All right, Your Honor, may I have permission to publish Plaintiff's Exhibit Number 2?
Remove, replace,
No objection.
Just so we understand what you're trying to say, sir. There is a gutter that's attached to the edge of the roof, correct?
yes,
And then there is a horizontal plate in back of the gutter, which is also attached to the side of the garage. Isn't that right?
yeah, it goes on underneath the shingle, and it's nailed to the, I guess it's fixed with the hangers
All right,
against
but
the gutter.
that horizontal plate is known as a gutter apron. Is that right?
Yes.
So, to understand what you're trying to say is that your complaint is that the gutter apron did not extend the full length of the gutter. Is that what you're trying to say?
No,
Okay. Your complaint is with the gutter apron, not with the gutter. Isn't that what Exhibit 2 is supposed to show?
right,
Okay. Then taking a look at Exhibit B, which is a contract between you and Rossi Construction, do you see anything under paragraph 1, which is the scope of work, that says that Rossi Construction is supposed to do anything, change, alter, replace, reinstall your gutter aprons?
no, I don't.
So would it then follow that nothing in the contract obligated you to pay for any work on the gutter aprons, and nothing in the contract obligated Rossi to do anything with respect to your gutter aprons?
It may not be on a contract, but he told me that he would fix it. Told me that he would put the vents in too, but they're not in.
Well, we're going to talk about those vents. What's that? Let's see, are we done with those photographs? The 4 photographs? Good. Thank you. I think you have the other ones too. Thank you very much. Great. Thank you. Now, I just wanted to show you, again, Exhibit 1M for identification. Can you take a look at that?
Yes,
Is that on your roof?
Yes.
Roof of your house or the roof of your garage?
it's on the house.
On the house. And that shows a gray shingle, which is more or less a jar on the roof. Would you agree?
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it's a gray shingle, but it also shows that there's a disruption in the surface of the roof due to that shingle. Isn't that right?
Due to the plate pushing it up, yes,
Okay. That's what that photograph shows, correct?
yes.
Move to publish that photograph, Your Honor.
Any objections?
No.
Now, I want you to turn to Defendant's Exhibit. As the jury looks at that photograph, Mr. Clark, turn to Exhibit C3. And as the jury looks at 1M, do you see a difference between the completed roofing job depicted in C3, defendant C3, and that photograph 1M, which shows the disrupted shingle? You notice the difference?
No.
Okay. Isn't it true, sir, that looking at Defendant's Exhibit C3, there is no disruption in the area of the shingle, which is shown as disrupted in Exhibit 1M?
That could have been taken later, that picture.
Okay, so what you're saying is Defendant C3 was taken at a later time than the photograph showing the same area of the roof showing a disrupted
Yeah,
shingle.
when it started getting worse, that's probably why that movie was taken.
But you would agree that if the roof photograph taken as C3 shows no disruption, and the photograph we just showed you shows a disrupted shingle,
Yeah, right, but you just
then
said these are the
wouldn't it
same
follow?
pictures.
Wouldn't it
These are the same
follow?
pictures?
May I finish my question?
Let him finish the question, sir.
Wouldn't it follow that the photograph you told the jury showed the area of the roof after our job was somehow fixed before the photograph of C3 was taken?
It was fixed? I don't know what you're talking, I don't know what you're saying.
All right, looking at Defendant's Exhibit C3, there is no disruption in the roof around the area where that photograph shows. Isn't
From
that
this
true?
angle, yes, there is. It doesn't look like it now.
So who fixed it between the time that photograph you
Well,
just
if you
showed the
go up
jury
close and look at it,
and this
I still
one
see
that
the
was
plate
taken
hanging up.
afterwards?
The plate is still hanging up.
Who fixed it?
It's not fixed.
But there's no sign of a disruption in C3.
Well, maybe if you get closer, you would see it.
You can't see it from where
Not
this
from that
photograph was
angle.
taken. Okay. All right. Now, taking a look at Exhibit 5 for identification, this is the photograph showing the tape measure that was thrown across the gutter. Do you remember?
Which number?
Exhibit 5.
Yes, please.
Here's 4.
It's not in the book, sir, it's in your picture.
At the same time, can I publish Plaintiff's Exhibit 5?
Yes.
Now, do you know anything about roofing work, Mr. Clark?
Not too much, no.
Okay. Do you know that the roof shingle has to be installed 1 inch over the edge of the roof?
All right.
Is that true or not? Do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Okay. And that the gutter must be 4 inches across. Do you know that?
No.
Well, let me ask you this. Taking a look at the photograph we've just published to the jury and the photograph in front of you, what is your complaint about the way that gutter was installed?
The way this gutter was installed, you can't, you put your hand in it, if you come up with it, so you're going to clean the leaves out, you end up taking the shingles and bending them back, breaking them, because there's no room to pull your hand out.
Well, isn't it a fact, though, that the shingle cannot be even with the edge of the roof? It has to overhang the gutter?
I know there's supposed to maybe overhang a little bit, but not 2 or 3 inches overhang.
Well, actually, in that photograph, isn't it true that the edge of the roof overhangs the gutter by exactly 1 inch?
I don't know what size the gutter is. I don't know.
You don't know that?
No.
Okay. Now, can I find the Plaintiff's Exhibit 6 for identification in your stack, or can you find it by yourself? find it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at the same time, I want you to keep looking at Defendant's Exhibit C3, which should be open in front of you. Can you do that?
This one right here?
And do you see the electrical pole for the top of your roof?
Yes.
Permission to publish Plaintiff Exhibit 6 for identification?
Okay.
Actually, which do you did?
Granted.
And still looking at that electrical pole on top of your house, isn't it true, sir, that the photograph you're looking at comes from the area of your roof as depicted in Defendant's Exhibit C3, where the electrical pole comes out of your house?
Yes.
Now, that pole is regulated by NIPSCO. Isn't that true?
I assume so, yes.
And the metal plate you see in exhibit, in the plaintiff's Exhibit 6, is a picture of the flashing around that electrical pole. Isn't that right?
And which one? C3?
Looking at C3 and contrasting that with Exhibit 6, which the jury is looking at right now, isn't it a fact, sir, that the plaintiff's exhibit is a photograph, a close-up photograph of the electrical pole coming out of the roof of your house?
Right.
And the metal plate is the flashing for that electrical pole. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Do you have any information at all whether or not in roofing work a roofer cannot disturb the flashing around that pole? Do you know that's true?
You say so?
Well, do you know if it's true or not?
I don't know.
Okay. So if you don't know, what is your complaint about the picture showing the flashing for the electrical pole?
Well, the picture I got, and the one you got, this one was taken earlier than this one. One was taken earlier before the other one was taken.
All right. When was the other one taken?
The other one was, I took the other one, and I think the lawyer come out and took these.
Okay. So Defendant's Exhibit C3 is the way it looks today, correct?
No.
Well, then, who altered it after the photograph in C3 was taken?
No one altered it. This picture I took was the first picture I took when I noticed the problem. That's when I took the picture of it.
What is the problem?
This one here is a picture of it taken, because you notice the trees got no leaves on them. That was taken right after the job, so there wouldn't show no problems. At the angle that they took it, you can't see the problems. And you notice it's winter time. When I took mine, it was summertime because the helicopters are falling.
Well, let's make it simpler.
That's a
than that.
couple months, or maybe a month and a half later.
Taking a look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 2, what is the problem?
Problem is, can you see it?
Well, I'm
The
looking
shingles
at
are
it.
broke, the nails are coming up, and the flashing is been coming up.
The flashing for the electrical pole.
Yeah, it's coming up. The shingles are broke, the nails are coming through the roof. You see the nails sticking up.
Where do you see a broken shingle?
And I'll have to show you that. Come on, right here.
Well, show the jury where you see a broken shingle.
See where the nail is?
Isn't that the edge of the
nail
shingle?
is? All right, there's supposed to have been a shingle right there. See, it's broke off, that's why the nail is still sticking out.
The nail for the flashing in the electrical pole.
They hammered nails through the flashing that day, too, because you can see that where they nailed the shingle down.
How else would the flashing go on except for a nail?
Whatever way you want to do it's fine, but that's still broke. The nail's still coming through, whichever way you want to put it.
Do you know any other way to attach flashing other than with a nail?
I understand exactly what you're saying, but the shingle is still broken, the nails are still coming through.
Let's go back to your other testimony, sir. You said at first that Rossi Construction came out to do the job, and it took them 2 weeks, and then you said that it took a week and a half. Which one is it?
I don't remember the exact number of days, but it took over a week and a half, 2 weeks.
You sure it took over a week, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you remember it well?
No, I don't remember it well. It's been 5 years ago.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at page 19 of your deposition, lines 17 through 20.
Which one?
Well, I'm going to read it to you, sir. Do you remember giving a deposition in this case?
Yes.
And at the time, you were at your attorney's office? Is that right?
Yes.
And there was a court reporter who took down what you answered in response to questions you were asked?
Yeah, I believe so.
And you were sworn to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You remember being asked this question and giving this answer, page 19, lines 17 through 20. How many more days did the employees from Rossi Construction come out to your house to repair the original roof? Replace. Answer, I think about 3. Question, so the job took 3 days in total? Answer, yeah. You remember being asked those questions, and you remember giving those answers?
If it's down, I gave you those answers.
Okay. So it wasn't 2 weeks or a week and a half. This was a 2-day job, isn't that right?
Took more than 2 days.
3 days. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I put down, and that's what it is then.
You said in your testimony that you first complained about this roofing job in March of 2008. Is that true?
I believe so.
You're not sure?
Not exact date, no.
Well, if the job was signed in October and then the work took place in January 2008, are you saying that it was just a couple of months later that you first complained about the work?
Well, there was snow on there. I had to wait for the snow and stuff to get off the roof so I could really take a look at it. Yeah, probably.
Isn't it true that Rossi Construction came over to inspect the job in response to your complaints in June of 2008?
Probably. Okay. You say so. I don't know the exact dates he was out.
Isn't it
It was
true
5 years ago.
they only came out to your house once
No.
in June of
No, I've
2008?
been out more than once.
You saw them come over to your house before that?
Yes.
In any case, in June of 2008, they responded to your complaints by coming over to your house, correct?
Yes.
And do you remember who came over?
It was Chad and his assistant, the guy that did the work on the roof.
Do you remember him?
I don't remember the exact name, no. I
But do you
know
remember it was the same person who
Yes,
did the job?
yes.
Let's call that person Dave, okay? Did Chad and Dave come over to your house to talk about your complaints?
Yes.
Okay. And did they inspect the roof?
They crawled up on a ladder and looked at it, yes. You call that inspection, yeah.
Okay. And they told you that there were 3 shingles where you could see a nail, and they offered to replace those. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And you were complaining about the ridge of the roof, which had the cap shingles on there. Is that right?
I was complaining about a lot of things.
Well, and that was one of them, right?
Yes.
And they offered to take up the cap shingles and replace it with a line of shingles that was more straight to your liking.
He said he'd take up from where the spot was and fix that with little spot.
That made
That
me
big spot.
They offered to do that, right?
Yes.
And in fact, they followed up with a letter, which is Exhibit D in the defendant's exhibit book, dated June 17th, where Mr. Rossworm writes to you that he came over to your house on June 16th, 2008, and inspected the roof. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Do you have that in front of you? And he did that, right?
Yes.
He makes no mention to inspecting your house before that. Can you explain why that's true?
Well, he didn't expect it before did. David did.
Oh. So David was the only person over there?
Yes, David came out first, then they both came out.
Okay. Was anyone there besides you and Dave?
No, just me and David,
All right.
the first time.
Now, looking at the contract, Exhibit B, would you agree with me that they ordered 23 squares of roofing, shingles, in order to do the job?
Yes, that's what he said, yes.
And do you know how many shingles are in a square?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I said I don't know too much about a roof, except the way he told me what he was going to do.
Okay. Do you know how many shingles were installed on your roof and garage for this job?
I assume 23 squares.
Okay. And do you know how many thousands of shingles that is?
No, I don't remember.
Okay. Would you agree with me that if there were only 3 shingles in which there were nails showing, 3 shingles out of thousands of shingles, that would be a very small number of shingles that needed to be replaced?
But there wasn't only 3 nails sticking out. There was a bunch of nails sticking out.
But if that were true, that'd be a very small percentage of shingles.
It's 3, yes, but there wasn't just 3.
Did you count the number that needed to be replaced?
I ran out of count when I was counting those.
You didn't count them.
I counted a lot of them. But what I'm saying is there wasn't just 3.
Now, you testified that you started thinking about replacing your roof back in October of 2007. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And you looked around. You wanted to find the least expensive contractor to use in order to save as much money as possible. Isn't that right?
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with saving money. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, when you were looking around, you also received an estimate from Century Roofing. Isn't that right?
On the pen right here. I got some from few people, yes.
All right. Well, taking a look at Exhibit E, the Defense Exhibit Book,
Yeah, I found it.
that was the estimate that Century gave you in October of 2007 when you started looking around for estimates. Isn't that right?
Yes.
That estimate is dated October 15, 2007. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, just briefly looking at the work Century Roofing proposed to do, are you looking at that exhibit, sir?
Yes.
They proposed to remove the old shingles down to the roof decking on the house and garage and haul away that debris, correct?
Yes.
They proposed to inspect the roof and refasten any loose decking. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Now, that decking is the plywood underneath the paper. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. They proposed to remove the existing roof vent and fill it in. Isn't that right?
Yes.
They proposed to install ice and water shield at the outer edges. Isn't that right?
Right.
Do you know what ice and water shield is?
I assume it's like that little sheet of metal that goes on the gutter.
It's actually material, isn't it? That goes under the paper. In other words, shingles, ice and water shield, and then paper. Isn't that correct? And then the shingle.
Well, I don't know too much about a roof.
Okay. Well, we'll learn that. And they proposed to install felt paper on the rest of the roof. Isn't that right?
Right.
And they proposed to install 2 new soil pipe flashings. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Flashing is that metal that goes around a soil pipe or an electrical pole or a vent. Isn't that right?
Right.
Okay. And they proposed to install 6 new roof vents. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, that's in contrast to Rossi Construction that didn't propose to install any new roof vents. Isn't that right?
He told me he would install new roof vents.
But they're not in the contract.
That's
Isn't
why
that
the
right?
price has changed.
Well, it's not in the contract.
I know, so yeah, it's not on the contract, but that's why the price was changed.
Okay. They
Went from 4,000 something to 5,000.
did you read the contract before you signed it?
Most of it, yes, but he said, he sat there at the table and said, I'll do everything that needs to be done. Don't worry. He says, I put the vents in, because he said me and both agreed that there was only one vent on the roof.
Let's go back to the Century exhibit in front of you. They propose to remove and reinstall the TV satellite dish. Is that right?
Right,
And they propose to install drip edge on the gable end of the house. Isn't that right?
yes,
They propose to clean out and refasten the gutters.
yes,
And they propose to install shingles, correct? And also to do this work for a cost of $5,834. Is that correct?
yes,
Now, in addition to that, Century indicated that if the roof decking was rotten when the shingles were removed, they would have to replace that decking at an extra cost of $43 per sheet, right?
right,
And according to this estimate, Century proposed that this was going to cost $5,834 and maybe more if the decking also needed to be replaced. Isn't that right?
right.
And in addition to that, they proposed some more upgrades. Isn't that right?
It looks like almost the same as those.
Well, taking a look at Exhibit E, the section entitled Additional Costs, Century proposed to install a higher quality of shingle, a 30-year shingle, rather than the 25-year shingle that you bought from Rossi for an extra $432. Isn't that right?
Yeah, see that.
And they also proposed to install the 7/16 OSB, which is plywood, sheeting over the existing roof decking. Isn't that what it says?
Yeah, said they were going to tear it all, the decking off, and put new decking on.
Okay. Did you see anything in the Rossi construction contract where they told you that they were going to replace any of the roof decking on your house?
Yes, it says it right on there. It's going to cost me $40 for each sheet. But you said that they didn't replace no decking.
Well, they didn't because it wasn't needed.
They did replace the decking.
Rossi replaced the decking?
Yes, some of it, not all of it, some of it.
Do you have any photographs of the decking that Rossi replaced?
No, I ain't got no photograph. I have to have a photograph. They looked over it.
Well, let's go back to Exhibit B, which is the contract. Doesn't it say, sir, that the roof decking would be replaced at a rate of $40 per plywood sheet and $30 for any one-by-whatever board that they replace,
Right,
if necessary?
right.
So, in other words, it was in their interest to replace the plywood and the boards, but they didn't do it.
I'm not
did they?
arguing about it. I wasn't arguing about the decking. I was arguing about the size of decking they used.
Well, are you saying that you saw Rossi replace any of the decking?
Yes,
Well, where is it that they charged you for that?
in my bill.
Well, your bill was $5,000.
I don't know if it shows up on there, but what? That's probably the reason why I'm paying $5,000 for it.
Did they tell you that they were replacing the decking?
They told me there was a piece that they had to replace. They bought it the day that they were out there, and I watched them replace a part of the decking.
Okay, but you weren't charged for that.
I don't know if I wasn't out.
All right, what piece needed to be replaced?
Pardon?
What piece needed to be replaced?
The decking right there by the, what do you call it, the sewer vent, or the
Soil
chimney
pipe?
vent?
Soil pipe?
Yeah, somewhere around that area.
You're not sure?
It's fine, right there up around that area. They replaced it with 3/4-inch plywood.
Anyway, back to the Century estimate. That's Exhibit E. The cost of the additional decking or sheeting was $1,998 extra in addition to the $5,834 for the other work. Isn't that right?
Right.
So that was your first estimate you got for re-roofing your house. Isn't that
Yeah,
right?
Probably.
And after that estimate, you called Rossi Construction for a second estimate, right?
Yes.
Now, this wasn't the first time you used Rossi Construction. Isn't that right?
No?
You used them before, didn't you?
My wife used them, yes.
Well, if your wife used them, then,
No, she was for an estimate. I don't think they did the job.
okay. You were familiar with Rossi because you
No, I
had used
wasn't.
them.
My wife was. I wasn't.
You weren't.
No. All I know is her is the same as her name. She's a Rossi.
Well, we'll get into that at a later time, but my question is, did Rossi ever do work on your house before this job?
I'm not sure. I don't know if he did the bookshelf or somebody else did it.
Well, let me remind you about your deposition that was taken back in November 16th, 2012. Do you remember that deposition?
Yes, I do.
And do you remember the questions that you were asked and the answers you gave?
No.
Do you remember being asked this question, page 9, line 18? Did you call the Rossis first, or did you call the other company to give you the estimate? Answer, Rossi's done some work for us before. Question, okay, what kind of work did they do for you before? Answer, they took out a bookshelf and closed it up. Question, a bookshelf that was installed on the wall? Answer, yes. Question, they removed that and just sealed the wall? Answer, closed it off, yeah. Do you remember what year that was? No, I don't. Do you recall being asked those questions, and do you recall giving those answers?
No, not all of them, no.
Do you remember now whether or not Rossi Construction worked in your home before?
Like I said, I don't remember if Rossi's was the one. My wife did the hiring. I had nothing to do with it. I let her do that job.
Just so
I
we're
assumed
clear,
that it was Rossi that did it.
the deposition I just read was the deposition of you, was it not?
Yes,
Okay. It was not of your wife, but it was of you.
yes.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the estimate from Rossi. Let's go back to Exhibit B. Let's be real clear about what Rossi contracted to do. Looking at paragraph 1, the scope of work, would you agree with me that Rossi proposed to, quote, remove the existing roofing shingles and roofing paper on house and garage roof? Was that part of the work?
Yes.
Rossi proposed to, let's strike that. So the first thing Rossi Construction was to do was to take off all the old shingles and roofing paper of the house and garage. Is that right?
Yes.
Next, according to Exhibit B, they were to, quote, replace with 15-pound roofing paper and 3-tab 25-year manufacturer guaranteed roofing shingles, quote, paren, owner to choose color, end quote. Is that what they contracted to do?
Yes.
So after Rossi Construction took off the old shingles and roofing paper, it was to replace it with brand-new roofing paper and shingles, correct?
Yes.
Well, let's keep going. The next thing they contracted to do was, quote, remove and replace all roofing vents and pipe boots. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Do you know what a pipe boot is?
That boot that goes around that sewer pipe you were talking about.
Okay, so there's a soil, or let's call it, some people call it a stink pipe. Have you heard that phrase?
No.
Okay, soil or sink pipe comes out of the roof, and there has to be some kind of boot around it so that it insulates the roof from moisture. Is that right?
I assume so.
Is that a pipe boot?
Yes, that's what you're saying, yes.
Okay. So they were to take off the existing vents and boots and replace them, right?
Yes.
Do you see anything in that language that they were to install any additional vents?
No, it's not on there, but he said he would, though.
Would you read what's next, please? Starts with the word install.
Where is that now?
Well, let me help you. The next language is, quote, install ice and water shield in all valleys and along gutter edges. Is that what it says?
I'm lost on here. Ice pipe. Okay, ice and water shield? Yeah, go ahead.
Do you see that?
Yes.
So Rossi was was supposed to put up the shield against ice and water in the roof valleys and along the gutter edges, right?
Yes.
Let's keep reading. They were then contracted to, quote, remove, well, let's quote the language, quote, all debris pertaining to work to be hauled away. Is that what it says?
Yes.
So Rossi Construction was supposed to clean up after itself, correct?
Yes.
Now, after the line you just read, there's a line that starts with the word note. Do you see that?
Yes.
Note, any plywood that needs to be replaced will be an additional charge of $40 per sheet. Any 1X materials that need to be replaced will be an additional charge of $30 per board, end quote.
Yes.
Do you understand what that language means?
Yes.
Okay. The plywood is the material that goes under the...
It's the decking.
Yeah, that's called the decking. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. But it says any plywood that needs to be replaced. That means it's their determination whether it needs to be replaced or not. Isn't that right?
I'm not arguing about that.
And wouldn't it be in Rossi's interest to replace those boards and charge you $40 per sheet if they saw fit to do so, correct?
Well, certainly.
Okay. And do you know for a fact they replaced any of your plywood sheeting?
Yes, they replaced one sheet of decking on the roof by the sewer pipe where it was sagging down. They replaced it with 3/4 inch plywood. When there was a 1/2 inch plywood on it, they put a 3/4 inch on there.
Okay. Now, the 1X materials, do you know what that means?
The what?
When the language refers to 1X materials, do you know what that means?
1 times every month?
Okay. Is that a board that's 1 by 4 or 1 by 6 or 1 by 8 or 1 by 12? Is that what it means? Or don't you know?
That's 1 by or 1 times material. Yeah, it says 1 times material that needs to be replaced. Yes, that's what it says.
That's referring to a type of wood, isn't that right?
I guess.
But it doesn't say that they're going to replace that. It says if they determine that it's necessary, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But just to be clear, according to the contract, it doesn't say that plywood or boards will definitely need to be replaced. Isn't that right?
I'm not arguing about that part.
Okay. It says if it's necessary to replace it,
Right.
they'll
They
do it.
replaced it.
Okay.
But they replaced it with the wrong size.
Now, looking down at the contract you just read, there are some handwritten words next to the number 2. Do you see?
Yes.
And it says, and I quote, remove and replace seamless gutters and downspouts on house and garage, same green color. Do you see that?
Yes.
Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
So in addition to the work we just talked about, Rossi Construction was supposed to take down your old gutters and downspouts on the house and the garage and replace them with new ones, correct?
Right.
There's nothing in there regarding a gutter apron. Isn't that right?
And back again. We talked about it, but we didn't write it down. It was like after everything was done, we sat there and discussed it, and he said, we'll put the vents on, whatever needs to be done, don't worry about it. That's why he charged me $5,000 instead of $437. I mean, $75.
Well, we'll
That's what
see.
the extra money was for the vents and whatever needed to be fixed.
At least according to the written the contract that you entered into, Rossi was supposed to take off the old shingles and roofing paper, put up new roofing paper and shingles, remove and replace the roofing vents and pipe boots, install ice and water shields along the valleys and the edges, replace the gutters and downspouts, and clean up its mess. Is that according to the written contract?
Yes.
That's all the work that's listed on the written contract, isn't that right?
Right.
And the cost for that would be $5,000, correct?
Right. Plus what damage they did.
And that was less than the proposal for work that was given to you previously by Century Roofing, isn't that right?
I assume that they did. So like I said, my wife handled it. She told me it was Rossi's that she got the what do you call it, the quote from.
You say your wife handled it, but isn't it a fact that your signature appears at the bottom left-hand corner of Exhibit B? Isn't that your signature?
Yes,
Okay. So this was your contract and not your wife's, isn't that right?
yes. And it doesn't show bushes on there, too, that they've replaced. It doesn't show that in there either, does it? They had to replace some bushes. Does that show up on there? No, it don't. Does it show the lights that they were replaced? It don't show up on there either.
Okay. Were there any
That's
change
not on the
orders?
contract.
Was there any change orders that was done in regard to this contract?
Yeah, they destroyed bushes, they had to be replaced.
Do you know what a change order is?
Yeah, something's changed.
Well, is there any written piece of paper that alters the terms of your agreement with Rossi Construction after this contract was signed?
I assume his word is supposed to be good enough, though, isn't it?
So you're not aware of any additional change orders from this contract, is that right?
No.
There was no additional work that you contracted to do with Rossi other than what appears on this contract?
No.
Isn't that right?
No.
After the job was done, whether it be 2 days or, as you say, a week and a half or 2 weeks later, you were given an opportunity to inspect the work, weren't you?
Yes.
Okay. And certainly, the inspection came up fine, otherwise you wouldn't have paid the $5,000, isn't that right?
I wasn't able to get up on the roof to check it out until it got warmer.
You were given an opportunity to go up on the roof and check out the work.
Couldn't.
You couldn't do that.
No.
Now, just so that we understand what the issues you're raising regarding this work, you are complaining about the roof decking. Is that right or not right?
No, I wasn't complaining about the deck.
Roof decking was fine. Is that right?
No, it wasn't fine.
Well, it either was fine or not fine. What's your complaint about the roof decking?
I didn't give no complaint about the roof decking.
And what's the problem with the roof decking?
You're the one that says there was a problem with it.
All right, so there's no problem with the roof
Oh,
decking.
forget it. There was a problem, I told you that there was half-inch decking on there now, right? Is that correct?
Well, let me ask you
You did
these
some of that?
questions.
You're asking me questions.
Are you
I can't ask
complaining
you.
about the roof decking or not?
Let's put it back. Okay, yeah, there's a problem with the roof decking.
And what's the problem?
3/4 versus a half-inch.
What about that? What are you talking about?
Oversized decking that's supposed to be on there.
You're complaining
There was a
that
half-inch decking on there, they put 3/4 decking on there. So that causes the shingles to raise. If you walk on it enough, that decking will work its way through the shingles.
what makes you think they put any kind of decking on here? Do you
Because I
have any
watched them do it.
Do you have any photographs
I
of
still
this
got
decking?
the sheet of decking in my garage. You want to go look at it? You want to go look at it?
Do you have any photographs of this decking, improper decking that was installed?
No.
Okay.
I don't have no photographs of the bushes they replaced either.
Did you understand that if Rossi did any additional work, such as replacing the roof decking, they would have charged you more than $5,000?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay.
That's what it said in the contract, charge you $40 more, but they didn't.
Now, do you have any complaint about the vents that were replaced by Rossi?
On the garage, no.
Okay. On the house?
They didn't replace them on the house.
They never did that?
No.
Okay. So your complaint is not that they didn't do additional ones, your complaint is with the one they did replace?
No, they didn't put the ones on the house like he said he would do.
Okay. And how do you know that?
Because he said it to me in the house, sitting at the table.
That-
That's why it's $5,000.
So they didn't replace the vents, is that what you're
No.
saying?
Not on the house, no.
So you have no complaint they didn't put on additional roof vents, or they didn't replace the ones that they said they would. Is that your argument?
They didn't put the vents on the house,
Now,
like he said they would do. Not replace, put on.
now, have you had any repairs to the roof in the 5 years, or almost 6 years that this job took place?
No. They repairs for inside the house, wasn't it, from the roof?
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Vaznellis, redirect.
Let me approach.